Today, we are diving deep into the incredibly high-stakes world of pharmaceutical track and trace. Now, this is a system that's designed to protect all of us, our public health. But for the companies that are actually in the trenches, it's a landscape just filled with complexity, immense pressure, and one massive, overarching challenge. Let's break it all down. This quote from Ahmed Dawood, who's a real expert in this field, it just hits the nail on the head. He's pointing out that underneath all the technical jargon, all the regulatory hurdles, there's this single fundamental problem that trips up pretty much everyone in the industry. So what is this one challenge? Well, it's this hidden hurdle that's really become the central obstacle for anyone trying to achieve pharmaceutical compliance. And there it is. The problem isn't that there aren't enough rules. Oh, there are plenty of those. The real issue is the total absence of information that's clear enough to actually understand, practical enough to apply, and accessible right when your teams need it the most. Just look at this pressure cooker environment, especially in regions like the Middle East and Africa. You've got companies trying to implement serialization. That means putting unique code on every single product, and aggregation, which is tracking how all those products get bundled together. All of this has to be reported using these super complex EPCIS data standards under crazy deadlines and with regulations that are constantly shifting. I mean, it is a perfect storm. So what happens when teams in this environment go looking for guidance? They find a complete mess. The information is fragmented across a dozen different sources. Any technical knowledge is scattered, and companies often have no choice but to rely on what their vendors tell them. There are almost no real-world, unbiased insights out there. It's an absolute recipe for failure. And this leads us to a really critical point. When these incredibly complex projects fail, it is so easy to just blame the technology. But the real reason, it's something way more fundamental. And this slide just perfectly illustrates that disconnect. The common assumption, right, is that technology is the villain here. But the reality? No. Teams are failing because of a knowledge gap. They simply don't have the right information, explained in the right way, at that critical moment when they need to make a decision. This knowledge gap, it creates this constant state of uncertainty. I mean, think about it. How long would it take your team to get a definitive, straight answer to these questions? Things like how to structure data events or figuring out why a report failed. These are fundamental, but finding clear answers can take days. There's just no single place to connect all the dots. So all of this industry-wide confusion was practically begging for a new approach. And to see how this problem is being tackled, we can look at how new platforms are emerging to cut through all that noise. A great example of this is TraceHub. Now, the philosophy behind a platform like this isn't to just add another layer of complexity. It's all about being practical. The goal is to simplify these dense regulatory concepts, to provide actual tools you can use immediately, to share insights from real projects, and, this is a big one, to help companies slash that expensive, painful process of trial and error. Okay, so how is that actually accomplished? Well, it's done by providing very specific tools that are designed to turn all that abstract theory into concrete, hands-on action. First up, something like an EPCIS validation tool. This directly tackles that huge problem of reporting failures by letting teams check their data reports before they get submitted to the authorities. This kind of proactive approach saves a massive amount of time and prevents really costly compliance headaches down the road. Next, a barcode decoder. This is a simple utility that lets you instantly decode and verify those super complex SGTIN and SSCC barcodes. The unique codes on individual packages and shipping cases. This makes sure your data is accurate right from the very beginning. And this is fantastic for just pure practicality. An Excel to EPCIS converter. So many teams are just comfortable working in spreadsheets. This tool bridges that gap, letting them generate a complex, perfectly formatted EPCIS file directly from a familiar Excel template. It just massively lowers the technical barrier. But look, it's not just about the tools. Remember, the core problem here is that knowledge gap. So instead of dense, 100-page documentation, the focus is on providing simple explanations, real-world use cases, and practical how-to videos. It even points out common mistakes and how to avoid them, because clarity beats complexity every single time. And here's a really key differentiator for a platform like this. Unlike a generic, one-size-fits-all global solution, it's built specifically for the unique realities of regions like the Middle East and Africa. It's tailored to the local regulations, the regional challenges, and the sheer complexity of trying to manage compliance across many different countries at once. So, what does this all add up to? Well, it's a clear path forward. It's a journey designed to take teams from that state of constant confusion and put them in a place of genuine confidence. And this slide just maps it out perfectly. You start in that state of confusion, totally overwhelmed by scattered information. Then you move to clarity, where practical tools and simple explanations actually empower your team. And finally, you arrive at compliance, where you're equipped to implement your projects smarter and troubleshoot any issues with real confidence. And that really brings us to our final thought. In an industry where compliance is not optional, where the technology is a given and the stakes are just incredibly high, maybe the most valuable resource of all isn't the software or the hardware. Perhaps it's just pure, simple clarity. That might just be the most valuable resource of all.